In domestic violence cases, there will enter a mandatory protection order. Now, we've talked about these in other videos. You can go search that. But in a mandatory protection order, essentially what happens is you're not allowed to go home to the shared residence where your significant other lives. So the question is, how do you get access to your things? Because clearly, if you're living together, let's say you're husband and wife, and you're charged, you need to be able to get the things from your home, and you're not allowed to go there because the protection order prevents you from going home. What happens in this situation is judges will issue a keep the peace order. In court, you may hear lawyers refer to it as a KPO. Keep the peace order is basically an order that the judge gives to you saying, okay, take this to law enforcement, and this order will allow you to access your house for a very limited amount of time. Generally, you have about 15 minutes. So the way that you do this is if you get the keep the peace order, you go to the law enforcement agency nearest to your house, ask them for a civil assist. They're going to see that keep the peace order. Law enforcement, one or two members of law enforcement will accompany to your house and allow you to go into your house and collect basic essential things. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, you only have about 15 minutes. Number two, law enforcement is there. The idea is they're there to make sure nothing happens. So if it's a truly contentious relationship, if anything goes down or anybody's arguing or anything, they can be there as witnesses and make sure that nothing happens. But they're also there to make sure that you're not going in where you're not supposed to be and you're not getting charged with a violation of a protection order because you actually have a court order saying you're allowed to do this. Now, the other thing to remember is you're not allowed to take anything that isn't yours. In other words, you can't take shared items. So you can't get a keep the peace order and go over to the house and in 15 minutes, I don't know if it's possible, but 15 minutes clear out the whole house. That's not allowed. You are only allowed to take what is actually yours. Joint property, furniture, and things like that, where you may have to discuss that with your spouse, you have to wait and resolve that at a later time. The keep the peace is only for essential items. So we recommend people get their passports, get their IDs, get any important information, any passwords, keys, anything like that that they may need, laptop computers, chargers, basic toiletries, changes of clothes, and make sure that you get in and get out and don't cause any issues whatsoever with law enforcement. Now, the other way that you can access your home without a keep the peace order is you can actually ask your attorney to file a motion to modify the protection order, allowing you to have contact, allowing you to go back home. The other party has to be okay with that. They have to give input and say, yes, I'm fine with my significant other coming home, and the judge has to grant that, so it does take a little bit longer to get that in the works. The third option is if you are charged with a domestic violence case and your significant other does not live with you, or if they have moved out of the shared residence, then you can petition the judge to go back home. Again, this is going to be something where you're going to have to show proof that the other person is not there, which is kind of difficult if you can't have contact with that person. But if you have friends or family members who know that this other person has moved out, or if the other person has changed their address, or if you all never lived together in the first place and it was just the incorrect address on that restraining order, you can move back into your home if the other person is not there without having the no contact portion modified. As always, these are very tricky and complicated cases, so you want to make sure you consult with a criminal defense attorney before taking any action whatsoever on these. But those are 3 different ways that you can gain access to your home after being charged with a domestic violence offense in the state of Colorado and having that mandatory protection order entered against you.